Meanwhile, in the Corto sector...
Meanwhile, in Star Fox...
Hey, Einstein, on your side.
Warning. Warning. Hostile ships detected.
So yeah, remember the Valkyries introduced in the previous part? They're here.
Yeah, speaking of Star Fox Dribs...
What do you say,
Yeah.
girls? Should we help him find his way?
No, this is pretty much a Star Fox sequence, complete with the talking box heads and
I
everything.
mean, the talking boxes were a thing even in the previous systems.
Can't let you do that, Captain.
Libra, be a good girl and take care of our friend. We'll kill the Elder.
General, come in. You've got hostile ships inbound.
But yeah, no, a Ratchet and Clank and Star Fox crossover could go hard. Like, I'm someone who doesn't even mind on-foot gameplay from Star Fox, so why not?
So, do what? Do you like adventures?
Yeah, I'm actually fine with that game.
Copy that, Captain. Fusion cannons armed.
Alright, basically the boss fight against the first of the Valkyries is relatively simple, you know, circle strafe chasing her, and in the meantime, you know, defeat the ships when she raises their shields up. Again, it's even on harder difficulties, this is not really particularly challenging as a fight. More just a matter of constantly chasing away the boss. But as you can see, the health bar, you know, goes down relatively quickly. Again, it also helps that I search around the zone using the previous system, so now my weapon system is a bit better in dealing damage.
But yeah, like, I mean, okay, you know, given that apparently Sony may be getting friendlier with even Nintendo now, it would be so interesting if we finally got the equivalent of Marvel and DC finally crossing over now officially with each other with that new Batman and Deadpool comic, and, you know, we actually saw Sony IPs directly cross over with Nintendo IPs. Only problem is we probably only see those on the Nintendo platform unless Nintendo are finally going to let a character of theirs show up on something that's not a Nintendo console.
Of the big three, they will be the last to capitulate on the matter.
Like, Nintendo are the only one to basically say hell no to the almighty crossover that Fortnite has become, basically.
And that's because, again, they have the money to allow themselves to do that. Like everyone says, Nintendo at this point has so much money that they could spend multiple years of bankrupt in a row and still be very comfortable.
Yeah, I think we're only just now finally getting people to realize that the Nintendo Doomed moniker was never gonna be a thing. Maybe it could have been a thing back with the... Well, actually, no, even arguably back in the N64, they could tank that hit.
It was also because, remember, around the time they had those both failed plans for the peripherals. One with Sony, which ended up being the PlayStation, and one with Philips, who became instead the CDI. You know, both of them were supposed to be, you know, a support for the existing Nintendo consoles, but you know that didn't happen. Now we're on the Agorian Battleplex. The Agorians were a species presented prevalently in the marketing of, classic, violent inclined, lizard folk. You'll be able to see very Klingon-esque, classic Especially because, if I recall correctly, we already the transmission that Qwark got himself impeached into this, so we need to save him as well.
I see.
Even the beautiful what? Osiris the Malevolent. Alright, see if there's some new armor. The Thermoflux armor, it's similar a bit to the one on Tools of Destruction, but this one gives you shades.
Nice.
I still don't like the helmet. It looks, again, it makes Ratchet look like a fucking jockey.
I'm sorry, but that one makes him look like he's especially going for a Master Chief look.
Oh goody, the Gruviton glove is in stock.
Only 11,000 bolts!
If you find yourself overwhelmed by enemies, the Groovatron is the perfect tool for tipping the scales back in your favor. Simply throw one into a large crowd.
I like to imagine that Ratchet apparently approved his likeness for these commercials to make a buck.
So, fun fact, that laugh that Chibi Ratchet was having, that's a pretty common stock laugh, so you know, you get it on the stock sound effects if you want to get something, but From Software is particularly fond of using it in their games, so, fun fact. They love using stock sound effects sometimes a bit to a fault, because I guess I can mention it now before we start the arena. Infamously, the final boss of the DLC of Bloodborne, the Orphan of Cause, it's a very dramatic type of fight, you know, with a lot of build-up, you know, a lot of sadness, tragedy about the story behind and the fight itself. Typical atmosphere for, you know, From Software stuff. But it's a bit undermined by the fact that the boss is supposed to scream at you, and in order to represent that, From Software chose, with not much, you know, rationalizing, a stock sound scream, a stock scream from the library from William Hanna. You might know about it if you play the Pizza Tower, because it's the one that Peppino does, the yow! So you have this very dramatic fight where this guy tries to jump on you while doing this, you know, this scream effect that was intended for comedy purpose. Again, less From Software, but sometimes they don't know. Anyway,
sometimes I wonder
arcade minigame time, which is my blaster runs very hot, where you can play as Qwark with a classic, you know, heating type of weapon and defeating the enemy. And if you are playing co-op, you know, 2-player, you can do it if you want. The other player is Rusty Pete for some reason. Again, don't ask.
Like, I wonder if From Software wants to try and inject a little bit of
humor,
meta humor, you know, like, well, humor in the sense that, like, well, I'd say maybe a bit like Metal Gear, where obviously the characters take everything completely seriously, but there's just some stuff that's goofy. And
very possible. Another thing, Dweebs and sure haven't seen it yet, but one thing that is in the DLC of Dark Souls 3 is an encounter with a particular NPC, and because, you know, that was pretty much signaled as the end of the franchise before Elden Ring showed up, you literally get a very cheesy title drop where the character literally says, "I find Dark Soul to you."
Beautiful. And let's not forget how they basically immortalized the "Let me solo her" bit from Elden Ring.
Well, that was Bandai Namco instead choosing to reward the player, so it was more the publisher, you know, deciding to reward a bit that, which, as I mentioned a couple of times, they've been, you know, doing that a couple of times for the sake of trying to ingrace themselves, you know, the player base in a classic Silence brand type of behavior.
Okay, so that one was more Bandai, Bamco's call.
Yeah,
okay,
basically.
fair enough.
From Software, aside of the interviews that From Software actually has with you know, with Hidetaka Miyazaki for journalistic purposes, otherwise don't have a lot of contact with the West. You know, they just let the publishers do everything. And the only other major contribution is Hidetaka Miyazaki choosing the voice actors and what kind of voice delivery they will have.
So From Software are pretty much just the no-nonsense, give me a job, I'll do it. Bam, there you go, guys.
Well, they are not super serious still on the matter, you know. There is still a bit of levity in the office. Infamously, Hidetaka Miyazaki, you know, have this love for creating poisonous ones for reasons that escape me. So. But again, it's that kind of, you know, teetering on the line, not on the same level of wackiness that someone like Yoko Taro might have, but it has a similar thought process. This is one of those things that a lot of Souls-like clones, like Lords of the Fallen, you know, or even Lies of P, did not got completely, because in their quest of trying to resemble, you know, the Souls formula, they want to be super serious, you know, and, you know, emphasize mostly only the drama, while instead I understand not having to be comedic all the time, but having those pinch moments that makes you understand that behind making the game there are still people who want to have fun. You know?
That's good.
Again,
especially in this day and age where we hear a lot of horror stories about development, it's good to know that they, for the most part, handle
there are no confirmations yet, but considering the amount of content it has, the amount of time it took, and the fact that it was a massive effort from the entire team, which was divided, you know, on the point, it's easy to assume that Elden Ring did at some level of crunch. We just don't know how much, because there hasn't been any revelation on the matter. But again, at the end of the day, you know, a game like Lies of P is still, you know, good and so on, but it's just to illustrate the fact that, you know, that's one of the big components that a lot of the copycats, you know, did not understood 100%. Anyway, introducing these are the Agorian warriors. You may notice a couple of them, and a couple of them do have an energy shield that you can have to yoink away using the Omni Wrench, giving you an extra bit of layer for the combat. Basically, now you need to actually, you know, defeat a couple of these specific challenges in order to understand what the hell is Qwark doing here.
Armageddon out of here.
Ah, it's funny. In case you're wondering, don't step in the lava, but try to make the enemy step in it. Again, much like the arenas in the previous games, you know, this is classic stuff that is booby-trapped, and you need to exploit, you know, if you want to survive.
Imagine a game that flips the script and makes it so that lava actually helps you.
Okay, the closest I can tell you that is an X4 type of game, you know, those kind of, you know, planet colonization system, which is called Endless Space 2, which normally has most of the species, you know, working in, you know, as they are organic, working in the way that you think about. You know, you need to find a planet that can sustain organic life. So something where the floor is lava is, you know, not recommended. But then you have another species which is composed by, you know, sentient cubes, basically, which works in an Euclidean manner, and they work in opposite. So, you know, if there is a planet with only molten rocks, you know, lava and everything, colonize that immediately. Perfect home spot.
Of course. Oh, definitely efficient.
I mean, it's more about understanding how each, you know, of the species works. And again, it injects personality. It was actually a Sega IP until recently, where the studio actually, you know, had enough, you know, confidence in breaking the patent out of them and retaining the IP. A bit like what IO did with Hitman.
That's nice.
Return to sender. Okay.
Death from above, bros before foes.
Yeah, the PS3 had a couple of games where they had some missions or trophies using that tagline. Believe it or not, if I recall correctly, God of War Ascension was a bit scrutinized because it had a trophy, which was instead the more straightforward way of saying bros before hoes, but it actually received the complaints and they had to change with that, which, yeah, it's kind of understandable considering Ascension is one of the more dramatic type of plot, so it wouldn't be more fitting to have that kind of comedy moment. And then there's the way Tom King used the phrase in Heroes in Crisis, but, you know, that's a story for another time. Is Tom King still working at DC? I don't even know.
I think he might be, but don't quote me on that. It's been a while.
It's also frustrating because the guy has showcased that he's capable of actually writing, you know, decent stuff, but a lot of times he's either given, you know, bad stuff, or he just decided to, you know, shut down his brain, which, like, I get it, you know, it's, no one is perfect and everything, but my god, you know, you're being paid for the entertainment of the masses, please.
Yeah, let's see.
Unfortunately, we know that Frank Miller is still working for DC because he's actually doing one of the Marvel DC crossover, which boggles my mind to no end.
Wait, he's actually confirmed to be involved in that?
He's doing a story involving a crossover between Old Man Logan and the Batman from the Batman Returns mythos. The Dark Knight Returns mythos, sorry.
I guess, on the one hand, apparently Dark Knight Master Race turned out to be good, so maybe...
That's also because his involvement was minimal, and remember, he also did, in the same period, Superman Year One, which was terrible.
You know, I will say this, I'm actually surprised he didn't spend all Superman Year One crapping on Superman, given how he is. Like, it seemed like he was legit actually trying to do good by Superman. Mind you, it was still not good, and I really find it funny how when you get down to it... It's most likely the way it peters out. It has, like Carl said in his review, it has a strong start, which, you know, it makes you wonder if there was a case where the comic was rushed, and as a result that's why it peters out at the end, because the entire final segment, you know, completely changes things and perspectives, and, you know, it's supposed to make you wonder how it can work, you know, while establishing all the things that only a relatively seasoned, you know, DC fan will actually understand. Like, unironically, it starts off pretty good, then the second part is maybe not as good, but, you know, okay, it's going for something interesting. Then the third part just careens into being and I can't believe I'm saying this, a poor man's Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, right down to even throwing in Wonder Woman.
Here's the thing, okay, well, not completely, but it has been no secret that despite the movie, you know, being that poorly received, and again, outside of us, the money, DC has referenced BVS multiple times, like in the Dark Knight's, you know, Metal Saga, where one of the iterations of Bruce is the one similar from BVS, complete with the Nightmare jacket, you know, thing.
I'm actually fine with that because, okay,
alright, I think it's about time to meet Qwark. There he is. What?
Oh. And yes, we are immediately thrown into the action alongside him. What a shock!
Well, again, at the very least, you know, compared to Tools of Destruction, at the very least, you know, Qwark is not just relegated to do commentary for the enemy, but at least he's doing something.
Again, I do feel like at some point they made Qwark a little too dumb. Like, yes, I get it. Qwark's an idiot, but he was, for the most part, a capable idiot, especially in the original trilogy, but then the games after that kind of just made him literally just a load of useless.
I mean, okay, if the third game is anything to go by, he did defeat Nefarious kind of accidentally, both times, and even then it wasn't even that particular, considering, you know, it was also, you know, eventually captured, so...
Admittedly, okay, according to the holotape which you play, he did legit apparently defeat Nefarious, even though he had no idea who the guy was when he came back as a robot. So...
Again, it's a thing that you need to take with a grain of salt, especially because remember the Holo comics were mostly biased towards you know, Qwark himself. So
Here's the next wave. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for the War Grok.
the what?
Oh no, not Qwark! I don't want to fight Elon Musk's bastard child of AI! Which is apparently now an AI girlfriend.
Well, I can tell you it's very organic in this case. Also, you can kind of tell with this model, they did not bother to have that much of a, you know, detail of Qwark's you know, costume over his face, but instead you can tell that it's just, you know, his skin painted green until the border. It's a bit lazy work, admittedly. Alright, it's time to face the War Grok. Jesus Christ. Qwark, can you stop running away like that? Hey, at least it's also affected by the Groovitron. That's nice.
I wonder, does Qwark also... No, he doesn't.
No, because, you know, it's not treated... maybe it's because it wasn't in range. I don't know, I haven't tested yet, admittedly. Especially because you do get the Groovitron at this stage, so, you know, one where Qwark isn't, you know, at your side immediately. Oh god, it spawns, you know, beings from the back. Well, please.
How lovely, it's a mother. And of course, in typical boss faction, the audience boos your success.
Yeah, they kind of want you to be dead, you know, that's the charm of using the War Beast against you.
Yes.
Thankfully, it's not too spongy. That's the one thing that I can say about the bosses, for the most part, in this game. Not all of them, unfortunately, but most of them are not as spongy.
Honestly, I can take a spongy boss if they at least make it fun enough to make me, you know, want it to go on longer.
Thankfully, the Tesla coin seems to be doing pretty much a good number on the boss. So there is that.
Seems like a hearty line launcher. Thanks for the advice, Qwark. I'll keep that in mind. You're truly as helpful.
I also love the Grok portrait. Anyway, we're done.
Okay.
Gladiators, you must kill the War.
Fine.
Finish him.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I understand your proud warrior ways. The nobler tribesmen of Florana once referred to me as... or he with mighty pecs who had delivered us serenity. But we cannot kill this creature.
Qwark, this is not the time to be, you know, Captain Kirk.
This thing's trying to eat me!
This Lombax is young. He does not understand that being a hero is 45% strength, 60% bravery, and 10% raw intelligence.
Yeah.
After all, real heroes don't need plans.
Take me instead. All that I ask is that you name something impressive in my honor. Perhaps a school or a food.
Okay, even though it's him, that is very heroic by Qwark standards.
Every day is great at your Qwark. And apparently it works.
He rolled a goddamn 20 in charisma.
How? Yeah,
The dice wasn't even loaded.
Oh my god. I know, right? Even now, Ratchet continues to suffer as Qwark gets the glory. But yeah, at the very least we got a new weapon.
The negotiator.
I guess, you know,
I mean, to be fair, Dweebs, I think it's an aptly name.
maybe this is a sign that Qwark's true calling is that of a politician, since he can just fail upwards like that.
Let's begin our negotiations.
Basically, remember, Jova, he becomes Galactic President for a while after this.
God, that's right.
Well job. I just cleaned up thanks to you. Time to roll back to make good on his promise.
Oh, cool, he was betting on us.
Remember, we basically went this to check on Qwark and also to have, you know, a bit of an extra which his plot required in order to progress. The rest of the tournaments are optional in order to, as usual, for the arena, custom for the arena to get more goodies like, you know, titanium bolts, zonies, and of course, a lava bolt.
Of course.
Equal opportunity dismissed.
Yes. Alright, tune in for the next part, where, if I recall correctly, we will actually try to get back on track with the plot, in order to follow Asimov in the Creely Canyon. See ya.
Ta-da.
Yeah.